What's going on, everybody? Rootbeerisawesome here, ready to give you your WWE Money in the Bank preview and predictions, man. It is this Sunday that we are going to have a really exciting event, or at least I'm hoping so. I gotta say that I really have high hopes for this event, even though for the past couple of months and years we've had some terrible pay-per-views, some really bad Monday Night Raws. But after this Monday's go-home show for Money in the Bank, I gotta say that I do feel this event is gonna have some really good matches. I am really hyped for this event. I think the WWE did a good job with a decent Raw to promote some big matches that we are going to be able to see this Sunday. As of right now, we have been announced 8 matches, 2 of them that would be taking place on the pre-show, and 6 of them on the pay-per-view. Heading into Money in the Bank, I feel like, this has been overly promoted by Michael Cole and the rest of the WWE roster as the biggest Money in the Bank in history. Are they right? We're gonna be able to see that on Sunday, but as of right now, even though I did mention that I'm hyped for this show, that I do have high hopes for it, I would not say that this is going to be the biggest Money in the Bank in history. I do feel this is gonna be a good show that we're gonna be able to enjoy. That probably, or at least I hope, we don't have many things to bitch about, to moan about, but I do feel it just won't come close to being the best Money in the Bank. Maybe they're going to prove me wrong, but I don't think so. Let's just remember what happened at Money in the Bank in Chicago a few years ago. You had the most logical choices being taken by the winners of the matches. You had an amazing main event with the biggest and greatest atmosphere we've had in the past couple of years. Before all this Daniel Bryan and his Yes movement, you had one of the greatest main events in the last decade, man, with CM Punk and John Cena. I don't think they're gonna be able to top this. I'm sure AJ Styles versus John Cena is going to be a great match. I'm sure the Money in the Bank ladder match is going to be great. But I'm thinking they're going to decide to close in with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, which, if you ask me, I think Rollins is going to be able to get or push Roman Reigns into a good match. But I just don't think it is going to be able to even match what John Cena and CM Punk produced a couple of years ago. Now, with that being said, let's get ahead and start speaking about the matches itself and the predictions. We're going to be able to have Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin. Okay, Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin. I have been a fan of Dolph Ziggler for a long time. I gotta say that. Now, I haven't been watching NXT for that long to tell you that I know how Baron Corbin has been handled by the WWE booking team. I'm in this state of understanding what he's all about, his character, and I'm really glad that the WWE is pushing around the guys that are coming from the NXT roster, even though they failed so with a couple of them, like Neville, it hasn't been pushed the right way. And there's a lot of other examples, but Baron Corbin seemed, at least at first, to be a guy that they were willing to push. But for another year, they have just failed to capitalize on that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. That Battle Royal should have been something that told the crowd, told us the WWE Universe, what they had in store for the guy winning it. But it seems like they just don't care. You don't care. I don't care about who wins that Battle Royale. And it's showing because Baron Corbin is stuck in a feud with Dolph Ziggler. Is that a bad thing? You know, Dolph Ziggler is a guy that I'm really sure is going to be able to make Baron Corbin look good. Dolph Ziggler can make anyone look good. But the problem with that is, where is Dolph Ziggler heading? Where has Dolph Ziggler been heading for the past few years? For a bit, it seemed like Dolph Ziggler was going to get a push, but that was like 6 years ago. You know, he was wrestling amazing matches. He had one of the greatest matches I've ever seen with Daniel Bryan a couple of years ago. You had him with a world title run that didn't even last a full SmackDown because Edge recovered the world title. You had Dolph Ziggler then win Money in the Bank and win the world title against Alberto Del Rio. And, you know, the title was taken off him really early. And then you had that match at Survivor Series when Sting debuted and Dolph Ziggler was able to pick up a win. But what did they do after that, man? They didn't capitalize on Ziggler's momentum. They just pretty much killed it. They did everything they could to kill it. I'm not sure if it was on purpose, if they just decided not to push Dolph Ziggler, or if they were, you know, I just don't understand what went through the mind of the WWE creative at that moment. But Dolph Ziggler's momentum was killed at that point, and he hasn't recovered ever since. He hasn't done anything of relevance that makes you and me care about him, other than his great matches with, you know, Dolph Ziggler can produce a great match with everyone, just as I said. But how does that make you care about him if you know he's not going to get a push? If he's not going to be involved in a feud that the WWE writers invest their time in? Dolph Ziggler wrestled Kevin Owens for the past few months with no purpose at all. They were just wrestling each and every single Raw. And what did that actually create for any of them? Nothing. They just traded back and forth victories, and actually that just, you know, it was just a filler on Monday Night Raw, which proves that they cannot book a 3-hour show. In this case, we've had Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin before. We've seen that on Raw. We've seen that on the last pay-per-views, and I don't think this is gonna be exciting at all. You know, this match should be won by Baron Corbin. Why? Because they should. I still think that they should do something out of that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Will they do it? We don't know. And honestly, I mean, I don't think they will, but I do hope that they start treating that as something that we have to invest our time on. And, you know, because honestly, that's just something that could be setting up for a push, you know, that could be telling you and me, the WWE Universe, hey, this is the guy that you need to be checking on out, because he's going to be, you know, getting an Intercontinental Championship run. He's going to be getting a trial match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. He might be someone who could be winning this year's Money in the Bank. You know, there's a lot of things they could be doing with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale winner. But they don't do that. And honestly, I'm not sure if the WWE is high on Baron Corbin, but I do know that they just don't care about Dolph Ziggler. So I'm really sure Baron Corbin is going to be taking this one. Now, Apollo Crews versus Sheamus. We've had a confrontation between Sheamus and Apollo Crews, just as Crews ran in to attack Sheamus after he was doing an attack on Zack Ryder after his match. And I gotta say that Apollo Crews has been really entertaining. He has shown on NXT that he is a good player, a guy that the WWE can trust to have a good match. You know, he's really fast for his size, you know, the muscles he has. And I think Apollo Crews should be getting this win just to, again, show the WWE Universe that whoever comes in from NXT is already ready to take on the proven guys on the WWE roster. Sheamus hasn't done anything of relevance lately in 2016. That League of Nations bullcrap was just something really stupid that shouldn't even count. Sheamus would have gotten even more over not being on TV than being with the League of Nations. But anyway, even though that being said, Sheamus is already a former world champion. He won the WWE Championship of John Cena. Let's remind that. He won the WWE Championship of John Cena. And it hadn't even been 6 months after his Raw debut when he defeated John Cena on a tables match at TLC. He then went on to become the WWE Champion again. He would have a solid reign with the World Heavyweight title. It wasn't really something entertaining at all, but he did look strong on that. I do feel that at this time, Sheamus should be that Celtic warrior, that fierce guy that is not fearful of getting into a fight, into a brawl. But we know that WWE doesn't give a damn about that. They think that if you are a heel, you have to be a coward. You have to not accept any kind of fight or brawl. And that is what they are doing with Sheamus. So when Apollo Crews came out, Sheamus just jumped off the barricade and left. And I think this match could have the potential to be really entertaining. Not obviously not going to be the greatest match of the night. Not going to be the greatest match of, probably not even the greatest match on the pre-show, because Ziggler and Corbin could actually take that. But I think it could be a really entertaining match. And I do hope that Apollo Crews gets the win there. Again, just to show that the NXT guys are ready to be in the main roster. Now, we're going to have a tag team match, a women's tag team match between the women's champion Charlotte and Dana Brooke teaming up against Natalya and Becky Lynch. I'm really glad that Natalya is giving some airtime, some pay-per-view time actually, because Natalya has been one of the greatest wrestlers that the WWE Women's Division has. Natalya should have been the face of that division, and I don't think she's gotten the treatment that she deserves. But now, we've had this so-called Women's Revolution, and it's good that they are not dropping that, and they are still pushing one of the four horsewomen, with Becky Lynch being involved in that match. We know that probably she's not going to be challenging for the women's title in quite some time, but it's good that Becky Lynch is involved because we know that she can pull on a good match along with Natalya. And Charlotte has been getting better and better within her role. Now without Flair, she's gonna have to prove that she can be entertaining on her own, and I really think she's gonna be able to do that. Flair being there, I think at least myself, I was getting sick of that act. I'm pretty sure that everyone else did. It was growing stale. We didn't want to see Flair interfere in every single one of her matches. So Charlotte being on her own without Flair, I think that's going to be able to get the crowd behind her a little bit more. Now, Dana Brooke is someone that is coming just from NXT, and we gotta say that it's good that they are kind of trusting her to be in this kind of match with proven women like Charlotte, Natalya, and Becky Lynch. It's good that they are trusting her by having her in a tag team match instead of just having her challenge Charlotte. Because they easily could have had Charlotte turn face or Dana Brooke turn heel to have this match. And I'm really glad they just went the route with a tag team match, because this is going to be able to, let Sasha heel, be 100% ready to come back and challenge Charlotte. Or, they could always just decide to have Bayley debut on the main roster, even though she has announced that she wants to wrestle and get her rematch for the NXT Women's title. Bailey at any given moment could be debuting on the WWE main roster. So it's good that they are having this tag team match just so you can have, let's say women's action without actually having to put the women's title on the line. Plus, this is something that would allow Charlotte to lose. You could even see Natalia turning on Becky Lynch and have a Natalia and Becky Lynch feud that would elevate even more the character of Becky Lynch. So right now, I'm going with Natalia and Becky Lynch to get the win if they don't decide to turn Natalia heel. Now, if they do choose to get Natalia and turn her as a heel, I'm seeing Charlotte and Dana Brooke beating Becky after Natalia leaves the ring or something along those lines. Now, Rusev versus Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil is someone who should feel privileged because he just came off a suspension and he's getting a title shot against Rusev. Rusev did just what I told you that I think Sheamus should be doing, which is, you are a heel, you are strong, you have the ability. Well, then get into a brawl. Rusev came out on Raw, attacked Titus O'Neil, pretty much destroyed Titus O'Neil, and he showed why someone should fear being in the ring with him. Rusev is not someone who I feel is the greatest wrestler. I actually was interested in him when he debuted on the main roster, for full time, not counting the Royal Rumble showing he had, because, he was that big guy that they were investing their time on with that undefeated streak. I feel that when he faced John Cena for the US title a few years back, that's when it all declined, because they just decided they had to have John Cena beat him. I don't think it should have been Cena, it should have been someone else, but that happened. And after that, Rusev was just not the same. Then he went into the League of Nations, which was a waste for every single one of its members. And Rusev just won the United States title. I think, we all know that wouldn't stop WWE from taking the title off him. But I feel like at this time, after what we saw on Raw, it could very well be Titus O'Neil winning. I know that Rusev pretty much destroyed Titus O'Neil. Titus took the beating, but I just have a feeling that Titus could be winning this. If not, then that just means that they are really investing time on Rusev, that they really want to push him. But right now, I'll have to go with Titus O'Neil. Now, the Fatal 4-Way for, as we go in more in depth with the following 4 matches, the more I have a hard time deciding who I think will be winning on this match. The Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the WWE Tag Team Championships is one that, has me really intrigued in what's going to happen. You have the New Day, who has been one of the greatest acts you've had on your Monday Night Raw for a long time. They have been tag team champions for a long time already. They have been running this same kind of act for a long time, yet they have still been able to get us interested. What they do is yet not stale. They used to be heels, and as I said on the Monday Night Raw review, we thought that by going face, they just wouldn't be able to pull the same things they did, but it's still really entertaining even though they are not faces, which just goes to show the WWE creative that whenever you turn from face to heel or heel to face, you don't need to change your antics at all. You can keep being the same guy at most things, and you are still gonna be able to succeed. Now, I heard JD from New York's Raw review. I always do, shout out to JD from New York, even though this shouldn't be considered a shout out right now because he has thousands and thousands of subscribers, and I have still yet to get one. But I know that the New Day versus Enzo and Cass could be a great match for SummerSlam. I know he does think too that the club could be winning this and that it will be kind of logical, but he says Enzo and Cass could be a great match versus the New Day for the tag team titles. Would that happen at SummerSlam? We don't know. For all we know, we are not sure if they are gonna be facing each other. But after what we saw on Raw, it is something that we should know would be extremely entertaining with the promos and obviously the match. Enzo and Cass, I think that they were probably going to win the titles last month, but sadly, that didn't happen after Enzo's injury. They are really, really high on him. We are, and it seems the WWE's too. So they could be taking, the upset win and having the New Day face them. It could go either way, It could be the New Day retaining, or it could be Enzo and Cass winning the titles, and then the New Day using the rematch clause. Now, as good as the Vaudevillains have been, I'm actually gonna go for them taking the fall. Whoever wins, I'm pretty sure that the Vaudevillains are gonna be the ones taking the fall. They have been good. They have been able to connect with the crowd. The crowd has accepted them, has been fine with their characters. The gimmick of them is something that most of the casual fans probably wouldn't even, care about or wouldn't even understand that being the problem. They wouldn't even understand the gimmick. But I think they did an amazing job by having them debut and face Enzo and Cass, the New Day, as faces, because that makes the crowd, instantly do something to care about the Vaudevillains. You have two of the greatest teams in the division. You could go either way. Probably the New Day is the greatest, or Enzo and Cass. They are both really hot at this moment. So having the Vaudevillains face them in a feud is just the right thing to do, because you got them over instantly by doing that. So I think that having the Vaudevillains face the Usos and feud with them just wouldn't have worked for the Vaudevillains. The crowd with this, with the Usos recently backing up Roman Reigns, the Vaudevillains would have debuted as heels, but the crowd would have received them as faces. They would have popped for them. And I'm sure the WWE didn't want to get any cheers for the Vaudevillains. And by having them go against Enzo and Cass and the New Day, they have just achieved what they wanted. Having that said, I think they are the weakest link of the match. With that meaning that the WWE, I think, will not under any circumstance give them the tag team titles after this match. I'm not saying they're not good enough. I'm not saying they are, bad wrestlers or anything. I'm just saying that by saying the weak link, I'm trying to tell you that the Vaudevillains have just no chance of going out of this match winning the titles. Now, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, the way they have been booked after debuting tells me that this is the kind of match that they need or probably that they wanted to get the club winning the tag team titles. You know, if the club is able to pin the Vaudevillains, you don't take any momentum off Enzo and Cass, and you don't take any momentum off the New Day. That way, you also get the club with the tag team titles and push them as you should have ever since they debuted. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows were two guys that we had been expecting for so long. You know, for some reason, a lot of the WWE audience already knew who the club was. And we had been expecting them ever since January, even more after we saw the debut of AJ Styles. Some people were actually expecting them to show up at WrestleMania. They didn't. But they are not here, and I feel like they have failed to get them to do a big impact. This is how you could start that. AJ Styles turning heel on John Cena and having the club back him up, and the way they were speaking to AJ Styles, the way they got involved with Roman Reigns, that actually told you that what the club is all about. But they need to make them look strong. They need to make them look strong. And by winning the WWE Tag Team Championships in a match where the New Day, Enzo and Cass, and the newly debuted Vaudevillains, who have shown that they have what it takes to be contending for this title, that would instantly make them look way too good. Who is going to win this match? If it's not Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, I'm going to go with Enzo and Cass. I'm actually putting my money on Enzo and Cass winning if they decide to go the New Day and Enzo and Cass. And I think they do have a better chance of winning than Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. But if I had to pick a second possibility, I think the club is taking the World Tag Team titles. And but I still think it's probably going to be Enzo and Cass. And, I do feel this is the time where the New Day is going to lose the tag team titles after a long time. Now, the Money in the Bank ladder match is another one that we are going to have a couple of guys that we would probably like to see winning. I know Jericho hasn't been the greatest guy in this last round, but, just for nostalgia reasons, who wouldn't like to see Jericho as a world champion again? I know I would, just for nostalgia reasons, man. And I know that having the world title, Jericho, would pretty much work harder than he has, and would put everything in. That being said, we all know that Jericho is pretty much just here to put over talent. He has been doing that for over 4 years now, and the possibilities of him winning are just non-existent. Now, Alberto Del Rio is someone who I would just not want to see winning. I would totally feel disappointed if WWE gave us Swerve with having Del Rio win. Why? Del Rio is a great wrestler, and that's it. Del Rio is a great wrestler, but the character that they took off him pretty much made me lose interest in him. You don't have the guy with a smile, the guy who was aristocrat, the guy that came out with fancy cars, the guy that came with a big pyro. Everything that was interesting about Del Rio's character was taking off him. And now that he came back, I'm pretty sure that every single one of us was excited when we saw him come out against John Cena and won the United States title. But he hasn't done anything of importance. He pretty much doesn't have any kind of character. The League of Nations pretty much destroyed whatever interest we had in him. Another guy that was affected by it. That stupid concept of the League of Nations. And I don't think he's going to win. I hope the WWE doesn't pull a Swerve on that. And, I would be totally disappointed if that happened. Now, going with the strong four. Sami Zayn would probably receive the biggest pop if he won that night. Sami Zayn is a proven great wrestler. He has put on the greatest matches you would see on NXT. He already had a great match this year, probably the match of the year, or a really big contender against Shinsuke Nakamura. And, you know, he had great matches with Cesaro. He would be able to carry, well, not carry, but have a great feud with Kevin Owens. But, you know, I don't think that WWE will give him the briefcase. But if they did, I would not be against it. Now, Cesaro has been a guy who we have seen the WWE trying to push, or it looks like, and I don't think Cesaro is going to win. I would not be against it either. But I think he does have a better chance than Zayn does. And going into the final two, Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens, I think these two guys are the ones who have the most possible chance of actually taking the briefcase. The WWE has told us by their way of booking that they do trust Kevin Owens. He got a great run with the NXT title. He pretty much just debuted and won the title. He, had a great match with Sami Zayn. He had a great match with Finn Balor. He debuted on the main roster, and he pretty much debuted by defeating John Cena. He confronted him. He had a great showing in his first match, and he actually took the win there. He already got the Intercontinental title. He has shown that even though he is that heel that sometimes will act as a coward, he does have something that other heels don't, and that is perseverance. He can take a beating and he will still get up and keep on fighting. He does have that attachment to the gimmick that they are trying to portray of him, which is fight, Owens, fight. He will always be fighting, even though he will cheat, even though he will act sometimes as a coward. He will always come back and fight. And by that, I do think the WWE could be giving us Mr. Money in the Bank Kevin Owens, but also the way they teased Dean Ambrose versus either Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins, whoever wins at the main event. That could pretty much be something that tells you that they could go with Dean Ambrose. Having that said, I'm pretty sure that was just planting the seeds and Ambrose is not going to win. I'm pretty sure that the winner of this match, after everything that has happened, will be Kevin Owens. And most likely, or the right way, or the way I would book his win, would be by Sami Zayn almost grabbing the briefcase and Kevin Owens taking him out and winning the Money in the Bank ladder match. After that, you could have a great feud between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, in which you could have possibly, a crutch match. You could have a match where Kevin Owens puts the Money in the Bank contract on the line against Sami Zayn, and you would have the greatest feud in the year. And I can guarantee you that no other feud on the main roster would be able to top Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn this summer. That would just be a match worth of you watching or purchasing SummerSlam. I guarantee you that nothing else will be able to top it this year. Now, AJ Styles versus John Cena. This thing of 15 years in the making is just pure bullcrap, but we do know that these two guys are going to deliver a great match. And even though the club is banned from ringside, that could actually tell you that John Cena could win, because you know the way WWE likes to book John Cena. But even though that, I think this feud is just not gonna end here. I'm pretty sure that they're gonna have another match, and I'm pretty sure that this one is gonna be won by AJ Styles. Just as it happened with Kevin Owens, I think they're gonna let AJ Styles shine by taking the win cleanly off John Cena. And after that, probably we're going to have another match in which John Cena is going to win. But right now, at Money in the Bank, I'm pretty sure that John Cena is going to be taken to the next level by AJ Styles. We know that John Cena, even though we probably call him the 5 moves of doom guy, John Cena can deliver on great matches when he is put on against a great wrestler, and that is just and even more what AJ Styles is. So AJ Styles is going to push John Cena to the limit. He's going to make him look great, and John Cena is also going to do a great job making AJ Styles look phenomenal, no pun intended, and AJ Styles is going to walk out Money in the Bank winning that match. Now, that leaves us with the main event, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns is definitely gonna win this match. There's just no way I see Seth Rollins, even though I would love to, and I know everyone else would love to see Roman Reigns lose and have Seth Rollins become the WWE World Heavyweight Champion again. I just don't think that's gonna happen. And will it be a clean win? I hope not, because that way we could have Seth Rollins face Roman Reigns again, possibly now including Dean Ambrose. But I think that Rollins is gonna lose this match, and it would be cool. If you wanna actually build that, you could have Seth Rollins actually being kind of fearful of Dean Ambrose winning the Money in the Bank ladder match. So you could have Rollins be the one who interferes in the match and doesn't allow Ambrose to win the briefcase. And by that, you could have Ambrose interfere in Reigns versus Rollins. That way, Rollins could be coming on Raw blaming Ambrose for not winning for not being able to win the match, and Ambrose could be blaming Seth Rollins for not letting him win the WWE Money in the Bank ladder match. And that way, they will be, both calling for a world title match because they both would claim that they deserve it. And you could have, Shane McMahon come out and say, you know what, I think both of you deserve it. So we can have a triple threat match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship against the champion, obviously Roman Reigns, and having Rollins and Ambrose included. And there you would have your Shield main event for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. That being said, I see Roman Reigns going out of Money in the Bank as a champion, and I just don't think that the Money in the Bank will be cashed in on Sunday. I don't think they will even try to attempt that. I really hope they go with Kevin Owens and then have a feud with Sami Zayn. I think that would be the most logical and interesting way to get Owens over and actually expose Zayn again. Zayn just came off a great showing against Cesaro. It didn't come close to their bouts on NXT, but I think that for a Raw match, for a free match on television, Zayn versus Cesaro was great showing, and him feuding with Kevin Owens after that, we already know they have some history that doesn't just come off from NXT. They have a history that has been going on for years, and they were able to pull that on NXT. They were able to show that at WrestleMania. The crowd was wanting to have Zayn versus Owens, which should have been the way that they had to have gone with, but they decided with a ladder match instead. So this is the great opportunity for them to go ahead and have Owens versus Zayn and give the fans what we want. So there you go, guys. there's your preview and predictions for Money in the Bank. I don't think there's gonna be a cash in this Sunday. I'm going with Corbin winning. I'm going with Apollo Crews winning. I'm pretty sure that Charlotte and Dana Brooke are gonna win after Natalya turns on Becky Lynch. I'm going with Titus O'Neil winning. I'm going also with Enzo and Cass winning the tag team championships. I'm gonna go with Owens winning the Money in the Bank ladder match after taking out Sami Zayn. AJ Styles is gonna win despite the club being banned from ringside, and sadly, Roman Reigns is gonna retain the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So there you go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. I really wanted to get an NXT review this week. I just wasn't able to do so, but I hope that next week we can start the NXT reviews. Also, you can go and check my WWE Monday Night Raw review for this past Monday. I'm going to be going again with another one next week. And I also plan to start the WWE SmackDown reviews after they go live. And also, you can expect a Money in the Bank review and results after the event finishes. So guys, there you go. I hope to get some comments from you. We could interact that way. If you liked the video, please give this a thumbs up. I'm just starting with this channel, so I hope to communicate with you. That is the whole reason why I started with this channel, because I want to interact with people who like the product, who enjoy the product, and most importantly, who want to see this become better. So there it is, guys. Thank you for watching, and this is Rootbeerisawesome. I'll talk to you guys later, and have a great day.